So I need to actually give it permission, I guess. Give me 1 second. I apologize. I need to quit and rejoin. I will be right back.
All right.
Rinita, you better check this too. You might have to set permissions, allow permissions, all those fun things too.
Yeah.
Try sharing your screen.
I am sharing my screen now, right?
Okay, yours works.
Yep. All right. Thanks.
Okay, sorry about that. So share my screen. Okay. Cool. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to recycle a couple slides from Conf. If people were there, you got to see this. This wasn't a recorded session, so hopefully this content will be new. We had an awesome kind of area of Conf this year called the Builder Bar. So we gave some, yeah, kind of like great talks that were there. And they were a little bit more, community driven, smaller room. It was really good. So we had one on Dashboard Studio, and then we also had one on Splunk UI. I was not able to get the PM for Dashboard Studio here, but I use it a fair amount, so hopefully I can do it justice. And just start out by giving you a couple tips on why you should consider moving to Dashboard Studio for some of your dashboards if you haven't yet. So we'll start there, and then I'll jump into a little bit more about behind the scenes of Dashboard Studio and how my team, the Splunk UI team, fits in and why we partner so closely together all the time. So without further ado, let's talk about why you should build with Dashboard Studio. One of the big reasons that I think is hugely beneficial to using Dashboard Studio is that you can actually craft a story with dashboards. So in this example on the right here, we actually have like a floor plan. And this was a concept dashboard that I built around the time that COVID was just emerging and people were thinking more critically about capacity planning in their buildings and things like that. So it was based on real data, but it was just a totally new way of visualizing this, where you have a floor plan and this organization that we were working with had sensors for rooms and how many people were in there. But you can imagine how this sort of representation of your data just becomes much more rich and data dense. I also was on the Splunk for Good team for the past 2 years. And so if you saw some of our like public facing COVID dashboards or, we did some dashboards on the elections, like those were really crafting a story with dashboards and helping people understand things in whole new perspectives. So another example is just quickly customizing dashboards. I should have given some background when I first joined here, but I've been, using Splunk for probably 10 years, plus or minus 1 or 2. But yeah, so I've been using all iterations of our, dashboards and visualizations and building external apps with this stuff. I truly believe that we're just able to quickly customize dashboards much faster than we ever were before using Dashboard Studio. And like the pixel perfect placement and being able to just easily drop in images, those are just like so much better experience. And I think, if you're into making things like customize and really, like, I don't know, tailored to your environment and your use case, then Dashboard Studio is something that you're going to want to consider. Doing the same thing in CSS and JavaScript and simple XML. Granted, we're not feature complete today. Like we don't have every use case met, but the stuff that is there is, you can run pretty fast with it. So, and then lastly, like I think the reducing and reusing of searches and the GUI driven way that we've allowed people to do this actually is going to improve your Splunk environment quite a bit. I'm sure there's people on the call who have leveraged post-process searches or base searches in Splunk and in simple XML rather. And if you've done that, you know that there's no real great GUI way to do this. Yeah, you're getting into XML, writing XML. It's a little bit painful. So I'll in a couple slides, I'll show you some examples of where you can actually just reuse the same search for multiple panels and things like that. And then using something that we call chain searches, which is kind of the equivalent to base searches in simple XML. So a couple tips. One thing I'll just hit like that I don't think is covered here that maybe people don't know. Like I've bumped into people who don't know this yet, but Dashboard Studio is a GA product. It's part of Enterprise now. We did used to have Splunk Enterprise Dashboards beta. That is, it may still be around on Splunk base, but it's, Dashboard Studio is a GA product. It's built in. You can open up, Splunk today, try to create a new dashboard, and you're going to see either Simple XML or Dashboard Studio as an option. And so I just want to cover that it's out in the world. You can use this. And then what I'll mention is that when I say you can use this, it does require 8.2 or above. And then, yeah, so like if you're on 7, if you're still on Splunk 7 for some reason, I know people are, then yeah, then Studio won't be an option. But for all of our modern versions of Splunk, this is out there. There are some differences between like 8.2 and 9.0. So we are adding new visualizations, for example. We've added sand key, parallel coordinates, link graph. We're finally getting things like cluster maps in, which I'm very excited about. Markdown visualizations, for example. Another big thing that people have been asking us about is event handlers, setting tokens when you're clicking on things. And that allows you to do some show hide type behavior and things like that. It's not true show hide, but there are some options there. Like it's pretty customizable. And show hide is still on the horizon for those who might be on the call interested in that feature in Studio. Yes, and other view options, we have full screen mode. We have setting a Studio dashboard as a homepage now. So there's quite a bit of features in here that maybe weren't available in simple XML that are pretty exciting. So a couple other things, like we've noticed just some things I'll call out. If you're a new user to Studio, the ability to, so we've allowed you to actually upload your images and then use them in a dashboard. That's a really nice feature. It's actually pretty powerful because if you've tried to put an image in a dashboard before in simple XML, it was a little bit clunkier. You could upload the image to Splunk through some means and then reference it with sort of like a relative path. You also could find something out on the internet. But regardless, like that is a problem you have to solve when you're using images in dashboards. But we've allowed another option where you can actually upload the image right to the KV store, which is kind of interesting. So that's an option that you can do. If you're packaging a dashboard and you want to put this on Splunk base, then you probably will want to upload it and reference the relative path. So that's just something to consider. You can also base 64 encode your images and things like that and actually embed those right into the dashboard definition. And yeah, so those are just a couple of different examples. Be curious if there's any questions at the end on Studio. And even if like we don't get to it during this user group, I'll put my email and stuff in chat, and you can definitely reach out to me afterwards, and we can still talk on some of this stuff. As I mentioned with optimizing the number of searches, like if you put a search into a dashboard, and let's say that search returns 3 different fields, we'll call them KPI 1, 2, and 3. You can actually leverage, like with a GUI, you can actually attach that search to these 3 different visualizations and then select the field that you want to display. So in simple XML world, you probably would have been doing that with a post-process search or just running 3 different searches and attaching them to 3 different panels. But we're actually trying to help your scheduler and things like that behind the scenes to improve just the overall health of a Splunk environment. So as you're putting, like I've worked at Splunk environments where there was an unlimited license, and so I know the pain points of like unleashing 200 dashboard builders or more into an environment. And so yeah, this is one way that we're helping to reduce those types of things, which is great. And then chain searches, as I mentioned, you can also do chain searches. So similar to a post-process search that you would have seen in simple XML, we call them chain searches in Dashboard Studio. And so what you're able to do is, create a chain search, which would just be like your base level search, and then actually extend that search via a GUI. So this is like what you're seeing right now is sort of the equivalent of post-process, but with just a little sidebar inside of Dashboard Studio, which is really nice. So I don't think I'll get to. I'll just take a pause there real quick, because I know we're covering Studio, and I want to make sure we can at least cover, one topic. Does anyone have any questions on that out of the gate before I jump into the Splunk UI stuff?
There's a question from Edward. I don't know if you can see the chats. Can tables in dashboards be exported to CSV like in classic dashboard?
That's a good question. I don't believe directly. I have to actually. That's a great question. I don't believe directly. I think you have to actually run it in search first and then download it. But I will follow up on that one. I haven't heard that request in Studio yet. But yeah, let me take that back as a. When Rinita's talking, I'll actually just verify it. So, yeah.
What is that? I don't quite know. How do you export a table to CSV? Like, what is that?
I think you can just download. I think there's just a little download button on the bottom of the visualization where you can just just download your, let's say you have a table and it's just.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it'll just have a CSV. So.
Got it.
All right. Let me just cover 5 more minutes, I get, or can I go to 3:30? Is that cool? Or 12:30 your time?
Sure. That sounds great. Thanks.
Okay, cool. I'll just cover quickly, just so people understand. I'm not the PM for Dashboard Studio. I'm kind of covering for Lizzie in that regard, but I just want to share like how our teams sort of combine. So my team, since we have 7 minutes, I'll skip that slide. My team is the Splunk UI team. So if you haven't heard of Splunk UI, this was actually introduced at .conf 2021. And that was by the Splunk UI team. That was before I joined this team back and at Conf 2021. I was still on Splunk for Good, helping out on some of those projects and leading their engineering team. But shortly after that, I moved over here, and yeah, we introduced this publicly. So Splunk UI is really our the Splunk UI toolkit is basically our design system. So all of the buttons and text and things like that you see that look and feel like Splunk, that is the Splunk UI toolkit. So it's publicly available. The documentation is very easy to find, either via this QR code or splunkui.splunk.com. And all of our packages that are part of the Splunk UI toolkit are publicly available. So these are used in Splunk Enterprise, not all of Splunk Enterprise, but that's probably in the works. Enterprise Security, ITSI, hundreds of apps on Splunk base. And so I'll kind of cover, the reason I want to bring this up is just so you can see how Dashboard Studio fits into this and why I'm so comfortable talking about it. So Dashboard Studio is not part of the Splunk UI toolkit. It's obviously part of Splunk Enterprise, where you can build dashboards and things like that. Dashboard Studio is built on top of the Splunk UI toolkit, though. And so where I live is right here. This is our, if you've ever heard of React.js, this is our React.js library. And then we have 2 other libraries that are pretty popular, which is our visualizations library and Dashboard Core. So realistically, Dashboard Studio is probably our biggest customer right now, or one of them, because they're fully adopted, fully using Splunk UI toolkit. And so when you think about this, like, it's not just Dashboard Studio that can be built on top of these packages. If we get to it in this, slides, I'll cover an example of like another app that was built using this. But the point is that these are public-facing JavaScript libraries that anyone can use to build an app that looks and feels like Splunk. And we did an okay job of documenting this similar thing available in Splunk simple XML. So we had like Splunk JS and the Splunk web framework. And if anyone here remembers those, the documentation is still out there. It's not terrific. And so with this go around, we're aiming to make that a lot better and a lot more useful to people. And so, yeah, so I showed this picture at the at Conf. Like, even though we have all these different packages and we have Dashboard Studio, we're all one big product management team here. And so these are the product managers for like you'll see Lizzie in here for Dashboard Studio. There's myself for Splunk UI. We have our PMs for the Viz library and UDF, and so we're all and a lot of these folks are also from the new search experience that you probably saw blogged about last week. So that's how these things kind of start to interweave together. We're all like building different sort of pillars that make up some of these bigger things like Dashboard Studio or stuff like that. So so I'm very familiar with Studio and what's going on under the hood. But yeah, and just one other quick thing is kind of do a speed round. We did do a talk at Conf this year with an app developer who actually sort of refreshed their app using Splunk UI. So if you are following the Conf talks and want to check that out, Dev 1204B, we talk about just how this user Ian kind of took his app and totally refreshed it using Splunk UI. The big goals or the big benefits of using Splunk UI is like accessibility and consistency. So we are building our components with like screen reader support and things like that. And we are also focused on obviously making this consistent experience, so things actually look and feel like Splunk. I don't want to rush through the whole rest of the slides. I know it's a user group, so I'd like to leave time for conversation if anyone has questions. But I can also share this deck, so the things I didn't get to as far as resources and things like that, people can check out.
Since we have a little time, I don't know, Bob, if your question that you had about the Dashboard Studios was short or?
Yeah, I was wondering what attribute should I be looking for when I have the title of a single value chart in the wrong color. I want to control the color of the text of that title, and I haven't been able to figure out how to do that because on the dashboard that I've created, it defaults to black color, and I've got a dark background. And if I want to make the chart transparent, then the title of the single metric chart, single value chart disappears.
So I have, let's see if I have my environment here. Do you know, well, one question I have is, have you tried changing the theme of the dashboard to darker light?
I have not.
Okay.
That's a good question. Maybe that's why I come to these things. Maybe that's why.
Let's see if I can
find my dashboard.
Is it okay if I screen share and just show the group?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Let's see, because I think I know what you're referring to. So let's just make a user group.
That's it. I did it.
I did it.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'll just show everyone just for future.
Yeah.
If you
success.
Yeah. Let's see. So if we just make a fake dashboard here, eval equals 5, and when we title this like Brian's Cool Viz, so by default it's going to be black, but if you change the theme to dark, you'll see that the text and things kind of update. So that's kind of what we're referring to. So
yeah, but I would like the ability to control the actual color of that title if there's an attribute that's available. But if you don't have the answer for it right now, that's fine.
Well, I'll give you my hack for that. So if I make a markdown viz, and then I can just change this to, let's make it orange. And then, yeah, you can just kind of put it over top, and we'll get rid of that title. And there you go.
Ah, that's a great sheet. Love it. Thank you. Thank
No
you, Ryan.
problem.
Cool. What was the thing that you said? Thanks for the talk. What was the thing that you said about that was announced last week? I must have missed it.
Oh yeah, let me find the blog. I think there's a preview for.
The new search experience.
Yeah. Do you happen to? Let me see if I can pull that up.
Or maybe you can just talk about what's cool in that.
Yeah, I mean, I may not do it full justice, but we are working on. I mean, I think there's been a couple iterations of something. This is basically the thing. If anyone's heard of SPL version 2, so this is our new search experience. Cloud-based. So it's supposed to have. I played around with it a little bit myself. Like, even when you work at Splunk, there's so many things to try to get your hands into that it can be tough. But SPL2 is aiming to make things a little bit more point and click with your data, which is very nice. I think it's in public preview right now. I'll find the blog and we'll put that in the chat just to make sure I'm not misspeaking. But yeah, that's something that's up and coming, I guess. So I don't know, Rinita, if you have any additional insights there, but I don't. Yeah.
I just put the community blog post in the chat for more details and GIFs and stuff. And yes, it is in public preview.
Okay.
Kenneth, you asked about the CSV download, and Ryan, we took it away as a question. Ryan's going to, maybe you can post the answer in our Slack user group when he gets it.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, I will test it out literally during this call. So, and if I don't have the answer, I will get the feature request in during this call. So,
Yeah.
A quick follow-up on that download question. So you mentioned you have to go to search first. Is there one single button that you can just click and go to search? In the classic, you always have that open search button.
oh yes. So that definitely does exist. So I'm in edit mode right now. So these icons they look different when you're in edit mode, just because this is for like deleting a panel, copying it, things like that. But if you go into view mode, oh, actually there is a download. Is this a download button? Oh, well oh no, that's a PNG. Sorry. So I think to answer your CSV question, I'll double check on the table, but yeah, the magnifying glass will open it in search, which is nice. So
Great.
We can, I mean, I guess I can just change this to a table real quick. Let's see. Save view. Okay, so that looks like it's downloading a PNG. So yeah, to answer your CSV question, I don't think that exists today. So I'll have to get the feature request in and see if that's on the roadmap already.
Oh, he says iSpecific is about chained search use case.
Oh, so is the question, Kenneth, like if you're using a chain search?
Yes, I mean that's always been a problem with the classic dashboards, that if you have a base search sort of situation, that the CSV download is disabled for that. I never really understood why. It must be hard, because otherwise it would have been supported. But when I was just learning about the Dashboard Studio, I was really hoping that was one feature that was now available, and I was a little disappointed it's less available than the classic one.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's actually really great feedback. So I have a super secret Slack channel with all of us PMs that I showed in that picture. So I will be pinging them today and saying, hey, is this on the roadmap, or what do we got to do to get it on there? So
it would be great. Much appreciated. I am on the Slack channel for the Splunk user group. So if there's something that could be posted there, if you have updates, or if you get back, however, on this PL, that's fine too.
Sure. Yeah, I'll let you know what they say. Like I said, I can make no promises, but I can definitely make a racket and see if they listen to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem.
Sounds great. Okay, I think we might segue into Rinita, unless there's other questions. Oh, what's the Slack name? Oh, it's user group SFBA. So, okay, thank you so much, Ryan. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
All right. I guess I'm up.
Yeah, thank you.
I will start sharing my screen. Hey, can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
No?
Thanks.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Slideshow. Right. Hi everyone. I'm Rinita. I've been at Splunk for about 3 years, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about self-service resources. So in true Splunk spirit, I can share my million data points, which is basically my introduction. I am a senior manager in the marketing org, and I support customer success, which is everything that happens once someone signs the contract with Splunk. Personally, I'm an electronics engineer by education turned full stack developer at Morgan Stanley, where I was a Splunk user myself, and that's where I got introduced to what Splunk is all about and fell in love with it. Then I did my MBA and came to marketing, product marketing specifically at Splunk. I live in Fremont, so in the Bay Area, and that's a picture of my close friends at New Year's. I am a huge Marvel fan, and that's a picture I do of Thor, my favorite Avenger. And I'm super into plants, so that's my latest reporting adventures. If any of you are into gardening and plants and stuff. All right, so before I dive into resources, thanks, Becky. I have a question for you guys. So if you relate with one or more of these wonderments or questions, please put it in the chat. Put the question number in the chat. Have you ever wondered, oh my God, there are so many resources. Where do I start? How do I introduce my friends or colleagues to Splunk? How do I get specific direction on this particular use case? What's some best practices I could follow? What's something new I could do with Splunk? I invite you guys to put the question numbers in the chat. I'm like looking for some interaction here. Okay, I see numbers coming in. 6, 5, 4, 4, 5, 6. All right. 2, nice. 5, how to solve. Very cool. 4, 5. All right, I'm seeing more seasoned users in this group, so that's awesome. All right, in the interest of time, I will move forward. So my talk today is about 3 key self-service resources that can come to the rescue in some of these situations. I'm going to talk about adoption boards, Tech Talks newsletters, as well as Splunk Lantern. So for the first 2 questions on there, which was really more about how do you get started with Splunk, and if you have a friend or colleague who's getting onboarded to Splunk, how do you introduce them to what Splunk is all about? At a very technical level, I present to you adoption boards. Think of these as like 3 microsites, one each for platform security and observability. And they have the what, why, and when on different Splunk resources like community, Lantern, etc., etc. And they have the most valuable content, so it's not the entire thing, but selected few that you should absolutely engage with and be aware of. I can show you what this looks like in real life over here. So the URL is experience.splunk.com/platform, and similar for security and observability. And we have like a few tabs here. There is essentials, which is like how do you get started. and it has these path, a guided path on what are the key steps you need to do as you're onboarding on Splunk. Then for Splunk community, what is it all about? What are the different boards we should engage with? What are the key things? User groups gets a mention there, ideas is there. So as you can see, if you are a new user, or if you're introducing Splunk to a new colleague or friend, this is a great resource to give to them and be like, all right, go play and go explore the world of Splunk. Like I said, there is similar pages for security. We also have Surge, a link to Surge here. If you don't know about Surge, Surge is our internal team of Splunk security experts, and they will send alerts on any new threat that they are researching, very current, very up to date, and also give you guidance on how to handle that. And you can sign up for those alerts through this page. So similarly, for observability, you have like how-to videos. These are quick videos from either Conf or YouTube that are built by our in-house product managers, and you can look through these and do the same, implement the same in your own environments. All right, so that was all about adoption boards, which is, like I said, for a new user or someone that you're introducing to Splunk. Next up is tech talks and newsletters. So this is more about, I wonder what else I can do with Splunk, or what's new with Splunk, like the ICX experience that just came out last week. So we would have like tech talks, which are like webinars, 20-30 minutes long, and they will always have a technical demo from a technical expert at Splunk. And newsletters are more like in your email, right in your inbox, with the latest product news, announcements, any happenings that are happening within the community, new stuff on Lantern, etc., etc. And you can sign up using these links to never miss a future tech talk or a newsletter. I can quickly show you some of our past tech talks. As you can see, we have different tracks. So there is, again, platform, security, IT ops, DevOps, and you can find all of them on community under discussions. And under products, news and announcements is where I found the blog for ICX, which I put in the chat. You can find a lot more announcements and all the newsletters here as well. All right, so that was about tech talks and newsletters. Finally, the mother of all resources, Splunk Lantern. So Splunk Lantern will help you with questions like, how do I get particular guidance on a particular use case, or if I don't know some best practices around upgrading Splunk, let's say, where do I find some guidance on that? So Splunk Lantern, if you haven't heard of it already, is its own portal. It's lantern.splunk.com. There are a few featured articles on top, like upgrading Splunk Enterprise, threat intelligence, and a use case explorer. But there are also like product-based categorization. Now, if you know what you're looking for, like let's say you want to do risk-based alerting, so you can directly search for it, and you will find an article that says implementing risk-based alerting. And the value of Lantern is that it goes beyond documentation. While documentation can tell you what you can do, Lantern will tell you what you should do. So this article is actually written by SMEs at Splunk and verified by sales engineers, people from professional services, product managers, etc., etc. Excuse me. And this will really go step by step. At times include like frameworks and GIFs and videos that will tell you how do you actually implement a use case in your Splunk environment. So like I said, if you know what you're looking for, come to Lantern, search for it, find the article, follow the steps. Now, if you're kind of struggling and you're thinking, okay, I need to set compliance standards, or I need to do some observability use case, but I'm not sure where to get started or how to go about it. Although I have set everything up, that's a great time to use these use case explorers. So what use case explorers are basically like, it's like a framework. Think of it as a framework. So let's say your situation is that you have an online store and you want to make sure that the customer experience is as best as it can be. So you want to minimize your outages, you want to minimize your time to error detection and resolution. So from that overarching business problem, how do you break that down into like use case groups under different workflow stages, then break it further down to actual use cases, then break it further down to steps that you need to follow? Use case explorers are a perfect framework and tool to walk you through that process. All you got to do is come to this workflow, figure out like which workflow stages, which use case groups you need to implement to solve your particular problem or achieve your particular business outcome, and then click in that workflow stage and find the particular use case group. Let's say you want to do application monitoring, and then you can go into the use cases and detailed steps to follow within that. That was about use case explorer. We are building an explainer video on this. I understand it's a lot of text and a lot of different big words, and that explainer video will make it easier for you to understand and use this tool that we have on Lantern. All right, going back. If you remember one thing from all of these slides, it is go visit the adoption boards. It's experience.splunk.com/platform or security or observability, and they are cross-linked. And using the swimming pool metaphor, like adoption boards are literally diving board into your pool of resources, which has, so it will have links to everything that you need to achieve the best value possible from your investment in Splunk. Okay, with that, any questions? And also feel free to reach out to me at Datta@Splunk.
So yeah, I guess you'll be providing, boss asks, is there a URL for the workshops here?
For the workshops? Yeah, sure.
And Vas, I see you have other questions about the Windows folder. Let's address those at the end of the meeting.
There we go. And like I said, I went to this page from the adoption board. So if you lose this link, just come back to experience.splunk.com/platform and go to free Splunk workshops.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay, Kenneth, what's your question?
Thanks. I didn't want to type it all out. Thanks for the information about the Splunk Lantern page. I didn't know about that. That's great. I had something I wanted to do recently, which is just I needed to know how to write a custom alert action. And so, because I hadn't seen this Lantern page before, I just went there and I searched for that. And I have to say the results weren't that useful for at least that use case. So I don't know, it's just a little feedback maybe, or maybe I'm searching incorrectly. I just typed in, custom alert actions. I didn't know what else I would say for that.
Yeah, it is possible that not everything that you're looking for ends up here, because we are continuously building content on the site. I think we are at 700 articles now, but obviously there's a ways to go. So if you do have ideas on like more content that you want to see here, feel free to send it to us. I should come up with a form on this. But for now, maybe you can send it to me on email and I'll come up with a more formal way of doing this.
Yeah. No, that's understood. I just sort of,
Yeah.
It was my first try and it didn't work out so well. I thought
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that. If you go here, like how can Splunk Lantern help me succeed? It does say that you might have to adjust search terms or other parameters just because, you know,
Sure.
this is a wide content repository. It does have a lot of things.
Yeah. No, that's all good. I mean, for me, for stuff like that, I have a
Mhm.
few places that I go, and obviously one is Google or Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
There's a couple YouTubers that post some
Yeah.
really good content. So, I have some go-to places. There's also the
Right.
Slack channel, which I
Mhm.
do that as a last resort since it's real time and I don't want to make a lot of noise there. So I'd like
Yeah.
to add this to my list of things to like shopping spots for information if I can't find anything. So
Mhm.
it was just letting it be known that there was one thing I couldn't find. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I want to comment here, maybe look into Splunk Answer, because Lantern is more like a guidance, but Answer very, very specific discussions, and you don't have to worry about making noise. Yeah, I know the feeling about in the Slack. Yeah. So
So
I'm more active in answers.
yeah, and Splunk in the answers pages, that's what you were saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been there. It didn't seem as active to me sometimes, but sure.
Yeah, there are certain channels are more active than others.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people actually kind of just posted in the more active channels. I've seen alert questions in, for example, search,
Right.
which I'm almost active about. But some people have knowledge about alerts, so they will answer regardless. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, I did get my answer, by the way, for my particular use case. I got my alert action going, but that was just something I thought I'd try in the Lantern page. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Kenneth, I was just curious, do you ever use dev.splunk.com, or there's a Slack channel app dev in user groups?
No, I didn't know about those at all. Could you post those? Could someone post those in the?
Yeah.
Oh, there
definitely.
it is. I see Ryan did dev.splunk.com.
And app dev is a good Slack channel in the user group Slack. So we have this other team at Splunk called the Dev Ecosystem team. I swear I'm not plugging that just because Tom's on the call, but yeah, they're pretty good about answering some of these questions, and yeah, like I'll post that's a good dev.splunk.com link on, like, I guess, like the alert actions, like SDK basically.
Okay.
So yeah, if we want to go deep in the swimming pool, those are some other areas that you can explore for some answers. So
Okay. Very much appreciated. Thanks.
Rinita, maybe we can partner on cross-posting some of this stuff too.
Yeah. Like the online experience for developers is something that I have my team researching anyways. So we do want to make sure that cross-posting happens between Lantern, dev.splunk.com, docs, and that everything is discoverable at all times.
Nice.
Sounds good. Are there any other questions for the speakers today? I think that's a lot of great information. So I see that Boss was asking a question about Windows Forwarder. Did you try asking in the Windows Slack channel or on answers, Boss? That's what I was going to say. I don't know if you're there still, Bass. Well, just says thanks. Okay, well, that's what I would recommend. I don't use Windows myself, but that's what I would do. Oh, no, we didn't. Okay. Okay, it's just suggestions. Yeah, so that's why the Slack, I'm not shy about asking things in Slack. I know people said they don't want to make a lot of noise, but I mean, I think the worst case is people just ignore you. And one thing I found is if there's some really hot topic, if you try to ask a question in the middle, yeah, people just ignore you, but maybe pick a time when it's not quite so busy and then try to get your question in. And then like answers. I know that on Splunk Trust, Ryan, you're still on Splunk Trust, right? I know that I try to look at Splunk answers, and I know that Splunk trust, they'll even talk about questions that are on answers and say, who wants to try to help someone, I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
So-
I get pinged like from all corners of the globe of people like, hey, I think you might know the answer to this. And then someone sends me the link and then I'll pop in and so over communicate. If you got issues, let us know, especially the product managers. We want to hear you making noise. Well,
Yeah.
not ideally, but if there's a problem, we want to hear about it, so.
Definitely. Alrighty. Anything else from anybody? Any other questions, observations, discussions?
Since I joined late, sorry again about that. I was wondering if this had been recorded so I could pick up more of Ryan's talk that I missed most of.
Yeah, it is. I will, it will, I can't remember. Well, since you're not invited, I will put it on the community hub. If you're, I'll put a link to the community hub in the Slack channel again. And I always put a link to the, oh, I know what I do. Sorry. I upload, that's right. We take the recording, I get the MP4 and I upload it to YouTube. Sorry, it's a new process for me. And then it will be available on the event since this event will be completed. It will be like one of those after things you can get. And then also, if you have any questions about finding it, just ping me in the UG SFABA channel.
Great, thank you.
Alrighty. Okay. Bye, Joel. And thank you again to the speakers and everyone else from attending. And I will communicate what's happening in October, but definitely keep November 2nd on your calendar, especially if you're in the Bay Area, or come on out to see us. And we'll communicate what's happening. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.